So I had the brilliant idea this morning that I was going to show you the beginnings of this painting, do the scrub in on camera, and wipe it all out in the lighter areas and refine around the edges with a dampened Q-tip. And apparently my camera had a different idea because it wasn't recording when I thought it was. So instead, we will work through the next stage. So I've done the scrub in. I've used a dampened Q-tip to refine my edges. The best part about this is it's facing head on right now, and I'm going to have to move the camera to the side or I can't paint. But right now it's almost done, so I can just throw in a few little touches here and there, distorting myself around the camera. So this part of the painting is the map for future layers, and I always make sure I've got this exactly where I want. And I noticed after I put my little sign up that it's not a 6x6 canvas, it's a 6x8 canvas. Or I guess technically 8x6. Vertical measurement first. And as it is, I'm bumping the easel, so I will be moving this for the next stage. So we will stop here. I will get set up to do the next phase of the painting. Got most of the details wiped out. One of the things I mentioned in this scrub in that I so brilliantly didn't tape was that I always paint the background first, or sorry, last. Paint the animal first, and then I come in with the background, and that's to avoid that cut out and pasted on look. It also helps you decide exactly what your background is going to do at a later stage instead of beforehand. And also because some areas, like these little skinny areas between objects, read darker. They have to be painted darker in order to make it look correct, because that's just the way our eye sees. It tends to fill in edges a little bit. And if I painted this exactly the same value as this right beside it, that would stand out way too much. It just wouldn't look correct and you wouldn't know why. So let me set this camera up again. This time remember to record it, and we'll carry on with the next stage. I apologize for the distortion, but I have to be able to stand somewhere to paint, so this is what we're going to do. I usually record from the other side, but I think this might work a little bit better, give you a bit better angle. So as I mentioned, my paint is still wet here. I can still refine it a little bit if I feel like it needs to be. I've got my same mixture of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue here, and these are the darkest colors, but you can see how dark they go on with just a little bit of medium added to the paint. I'm using a water-soluble linseed oil. If you can't find the water-soluble version, regular linseed oil will still work, or if you're painting in regular oils and not the water mixable oils. Even if you use the regular, I find I could still clean it up with water just because there's so little medium in it. I basically just touch my brush into the medium and then work it into the paint. So I'm just doing my darkest colors. Anywhere that I see really black. Of course, I can throw a little bit of color into the shadow area if I want. Warm it up just a touch with a bit of the burnt sienna. The shadows tend to give an image structure. So by putting the shadows in first, you end up getting the form as well as making your painting somewhat come to life. I'm not putting that little tag in his ear. He doesn't need that. And as you can see, I'm going into the paint, doing just a couple of strokes and then back to the palette. That will be even more the case when I get into other colors. The black is okay if it blends with the layer underneath it. Put a little more warmth into that shadow too. The burnt sienna going into it is still very dark. Now I'm going to do a little bit of pre-mixing of my colors. I've squeezed out the red, yellow, and white, and I'm just going to use my dark mixture here to create a few colors that will work within the painting. There are artists who put their paints in the same arrangement all the time so that they know exactly where they're reaching and can quickly grab the right color. I'm not one of those artists. And part of that is I'm just not, I usually pre-mix my colors anyway, so I don't need to be reaching the color quickly. And I also don't use very many colors, so it's easy to see which one I'm reaching for. I want to have a few warms, just gradually getting lighter, and then I'll do some other colors that are darker, and I can of course mix another color if I need it, but I start with what I know is in the painting. Let's go a little bluer with this. little painting, so I won't need much for colors mixed up. I don't know how blue it's going to end up looking on the painting, so I will just mix a few. You can, of course, hold your knife up to the painting and just see how the color looks next to your photograph. Okay, let's do another warm color. And for my warm color, I could try mixing some of these two and just see how that works. That might make a good color. Let's lighten it a little. And we'll see how many of these colors I actually use on the painting. When I do the next step, I will have several brushes on the go because I will be using a different brush for every color. Okay, so let's get set up again and go back to painting.